Class 15, Psychic Development and Channeling class with Leah Howard, and today we're going to Class 15, Psychic Development and Channeling class with Leah Howard, and today we're going to be learning how to clear away fears and blocks to successfully following your intuitive knowing. We will do a little bit of a review and go over our homework from last time and learn some new techniques to help us to deepen in our connection to our higher guidance, our intuitive knowing. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and taking the time to connect with your guides and angels. I want to remind you that there is a small text chat box at the bottom of your screen, and you can send me messages. I love it when you send me questions or comments, and then at the on the right side it says send to. You just press Leah Howard, and that'll ensure that your message is private. This is Archangel Michael, and he is a ascended master angel, an archangel, so he's of a very high stature, and you can see he's holding a sword of protection and light, and he is a wonderful helper for clearing away fears and blocks, and a protector, a guardian, and we each have within ourselves the same power, the same sense of protection and strength, and that's one of the things we're going to be learning on drawing forth today, so that we can feel as we do readings that there's nothing to fear, that there is nothing to fear, that fear is just forgetting that everything is all right and we can do it. We have the ability, we have the gifts, we have the intuitive knowing, and it's a matter of trusting, trusting, trusting. So we want to thank Archangel Michael for being here. You can call on all your guides and master teachers to join us for this class today. Let's do a quick review of the homework, answer some questions, and learn about clearing away fears and blocks to your intuitive knowing. Then we will do a guided meditation to help ground that energy into your body, and we'll have a homework assignment. So part of your homework was to do the YouTube video on the angel card readings. That was Doreen Virtue. I really can't say enough about Doreen Virtue and the work that she does and the connection she has with the angelic realm, and how she has so beautifully put these teachings out for the universe. So the angel card readings, I asked you to work with either doing angel card readings, tarot, or practicing with a couple of the other psychic tools. And one of the ways that you could do that was watching the video, getting information. Also asked you to practice channeling and receiving messages from your higher self. Remember, on my website, www.leahhoward.com, there are 3 guided meditations that you can do. They're all free, and they lead you through the channeling process. So the 29-minute one is the one that I would recommend for channeling. Practice, practice, practice doing readings for others. Can't say enough about this. Anything you want to get good at, you have to practice, and you will continue to get better and better and better. Clearer and clearer and clearer, and more focused information, but you have to actually do it. If you're only practicing once a week, that's not enough. You need to be practicing at this point. This is class 15. This is the end of our 3rd level, the intermediate level. To go on to the advanced, you really need to be practicing every single day. So take some time to do that. Again, each week I do offer you some wonderful reference materials that you can get online or through your Kindle or through Amazon.com. You can go to a library, or perhaps you can share books with a friend. These are materials that do help to enhance and augment the teachings that you're getting here in the class, and I do highly recommend that you follow through with that as well. I hope you have your journal handy, because for the meditation you will be needing that. And also you want to journal during the week. I would like you to keep track of the information and guidance that you get from your guides, from your higher self, and the sessions that you're doing and the feedback that you're getting from people. And you're going to see it gets easier and easier and better and better. Okay, so here's a question. Why is it easier for me to get information from others, for others, than it is for myself? Why is it easier to get information for other people than it is for my own self? Okay, I'll give you a visual aid. Blinders. We all have blinders to certain areas and aspects of ourselves. It's true. It's called denial. Call it what you wish. But so there is a way that we can get information for ourselves. And I'm going to teach you a little trick that I learned many years ago. If there's an issue that I've been dealing with and I really want to get a question and I've tried to channel for myself and the information's not coming because of my own stubbornness or biases or attachment to certain things, what I do is I write down questions kind of on a little 3x5 card. I write down questions and then I say to a dear friend, hey, let's share a psychic session. I'll do a half hour for you, and then I'm going to give you these questions for me, and you can ask my guides the questions. When I do it that way, whew, amazing. I mean, that's when I know why people come to me for readings, because it's so good, because it's totally from my guides, my higher self. It's not me getting in the way. I've already centered for them. I'm already in a place of service. I'm already in a place of connection. So the information that comes through comes from a very deep, much higher place of knowingness. So I do recommend for you, if you are having that issue of having trouble getting information for yourself, you don't have to do it alone. You do have to have somebody that you trust, because the information will be very personal and you want to make sure that it's confidential. That's always an important aspect of psychic readings, is that we keep them confidential for our clients and confidential for ourselves if we're giving these questions to someone else. And then you listen to the tape later, or the CD later, and it's incredible how much information. You'll be like delighted. Can I do readings for my brother and mother, or are they too close to me? No, definitely do readings for your family. I think that's a wonderful way to expand your experience. Now, the important thing is, though, that you really go deeply inside so that you're connected to your highest knowing, because, you know, we have history with our family. Each of us has a certain history with our mother or a history with our brother, and because of that history, there are certain emotional triggers or reactions or attachments. We don't want to do a reading from that place. We want to do it from the very purest place of our divine higher self. So it may take longer for you to really go inside and connect and be ready and available so that you can serve fully in this way. But you can definitely do readings. I have an identical twin. I've done readings for her. I can't imagine being closer to anyone than my identical twin. And they have been very profound, very deep, meaningful, important, and readings that have helped her make tremendous changes in her life. So I do suggest that, you can indeed do readings for people that you're close to. Okay, number 3, I've started studying one angel card a day like you suggested. All right, yay, congratulations for doing that. It's amazing to see, now that I'm paying attention, how that angel is helping me. Isn't that sweet? So when you do that, when you actually really tune in to a specific card, not just the card, but the actual angel associated with that card, you get the blessing of their energy being with you that whole day. And when you're tuned in, you're paying more attention. So I have a little bowl of angel cards here. I'm going to mix them up. Can you see the little, it's like a shell. I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to draw a card. And I'm going to see what angel is going to be with me this day. And pull it out. Here we go. And it is the angel of beauty. The angel of beauty. So all around me, I'm going to be looking for beauty. And I'm going to be asking this angel to show me what's beautiful. And that's going to increase my awareness of beauty in myself, beauty in others, beauty in the world, beauty in life. And you can see she's carrying a flower. We have lots of flowers in Maui, so lots of beauty. So there is a way that each of you can call on an angel, and maybe you'll pick a bigger card like this one. I drew it earlier today. It says, you are a powerful light worker. I thought that was a great class, and a great angel to draw for this class. You are a powerful light worker. So the angels are wanting to remind us that it is safe for you to be powerful. Your spiritual power brings great blessings in loving service to the divine. That's what this class is about. Bringing our lights out, to be feeling safe and powerful. When we break through our fears and blocks, we feel safe and we feel powerful, and we're connected to our divine higher self. Just like in this card, this is again from Doreen Virtue's deck, the Oracle cards, Angel Therapy Oracle cards. So thank you, and thank you for doing the homework assignment. That's wonderful. Oh, somebody just sent me another question. Okay, here is another question that was just sent. Please talk at some point about the difference in receiving information psychically and information gained through channeling. In channeling, do you still use the symbols library? Okay, that's a two-part question. So the first part is channeling and psychic. Both of them you use your psychic ability, whether you're doing a psychic reading or you're doing a channeled reading. The main difference is with a channeled reading, you go into a deeper state of connection to the oneness of all, and you let go of your personal self more. So it almost feels, the way that I can describe it is, when I'm in the channeling state, it feels as though I'm not looking through my eyes, I'm looking through the eyes of love. The energy in my body feels different. I feel much bigger, more expansive, and there's a peacefulness that is just out of this world, tremendous, that it's not my regular vibration. My regular frequency is a little bit, let's get things done, let's get things moving, and this energy of my guides is very, very peaceful. So while I can be psychic all the time, I don't channel all the time, because when I'm channeling, and I'm a semi-conscious channel, I'm letting go of my external awareness of the world. So I could have a headache before I start channeling, and when I channel, I don't even feel the headache. Or I could be hot, and then when I channel, I don't feel the heat, because I'm going into that deeper state of connection and awareness. As a psychic, psychic information can come every moment of every day as I'm awake, and it can come as I'm sleeping. We're always psychic all the time. Those psychic capacity and ability is working all the time. It's how much I'm tuning into it. The channeling state actually helps me to tune into it on a deeper level. So that's the main difference. Here we have a little deer, and the little deer with Ralph Waldo Emerson says, all things find their origin in intuition. And there is a plane of consciousness and existence that goes beyond any sense of separation. It's the oneness of being, divine, source self, universal, God self, whatever you want to call it. But it is from that dimension where intuition comes. We are the frequency that receives the information. As we tune our bodies, our consciousness, our hearts, our minds, our spirits to that frequency, it's a higher knowing, and we all have it. Yes, we all have it. Even this little doe in the picture has intuition, and we'll follow that through life. So today's class is about clearing away fears, and fears is, again, forgetting everything is all right. But let's look at the dictionary definition of fear, just to get a reminder. So fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. That's the noun. And the verb is to be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. Okay. So, in the realm of psychic awareness, whenever I take a new student on, I always ask them to write down 3 goals for wanting to develop their psychic abilities, and then to write down their deepest fear about developing their psychic abilities, and 1 challenge. Usually the fear is more internal and the challenge is more external. For example, the fear might be being taken over by negative energy. The challenge might be, I don't have enough time in my schedule to do it. Okay? So this feeling, this kind of ominous feeling of, well, I would call it an ominous feeling of danger, pain, or threat. We're going to be looking at that today because we are in third-dimensional reality. We are the ones that are in command in this level. Fear of the unknown. I always bring this up in terms of psychic work because the psychic realm is kind of the unknown. It's not like something that's very measurable in terms of scientific. You know, science can have some results of it. They can do experiments and stuff, but it's still kind of the unknown. It's a realm that is very, very old in terms of how long people have been psychic, but in terms of actual knowledge about psychic abilities, it's still fairly new. So the metaphysical nature of psychic work, no amount of planning can eliminate the fear of the unknown. The mind, you can tell the mind not to be afraid, but it's an energy. So trust comes from the heart, not the mind. So we have to shift that place inside that feels fear. We do that from experience. We do that from trusting and opening and relaxing. So we're going to be looking at different ways of doing that today. The psychic must be willing to relentlessly trust the process of opening and letting go. Let's feel that. Opening and letting go. That's the feeling of surrender. That's trusting that higher, invisible, benevolent force in the universe that is there to be present, to be holding your psychic session, holding you, holding your client, all within a sphere, a realm of love. Again, this comes from the heart, not the mind. We have to believe in that guiding presence in the universe, that it is present and it is here to assist. So if you're someone who's not really quite sure yet if there is a higher source, God, universal, self, whatever you want to call it, my suggestion to you is to really go inside your heart and ask to feel the loving presence of that higher self, source self, power, essence. Ask for a sign. Ask to be shown. Ask to feel. And it's in that invisible realm that we trust. And it's hard to trust the invisible because you can't really see it. But I do know that the more you do trust that you are being guided, that there are guides, angels, helpers helping you, the more they will help and the better your connection will be. Faith will grow as the practitioner practices tuning into the voice of the divine and trusting more. Faith actually grows. It's like a muscle that gets stronger. Your faith will grow. The unknown becomes familiar with time and experience. So anything that you're afraid, anything that you were afraid of that you're no longer afraid of, you have taken the charge out of. So maybe you went to Disneyland and you wanted to go on Space Mountain. You looked up at it and you thought, oh no, it's too scary. I can't do it. But then you did it anyway. You felt the fear. You said to yourself, I'm going to do it anyway. You did it and it was like, absolutely fabulous. And you felt this sense of, yay, I did it. There's a feeling of, I conquered my fear. I felt the fear. I did it anyway. And when we do that, when we do things that are sort of fearless and courageous, which is what doing psychic readings is, because we're going into that invisible realm and we're sharing, we're taking risks, and we're trusting, then we get stronger and stronger in it. And we feel more and more empowered with our soul self, with our divine higher self. And again, the unknown becomes familiar and it becomes less frightening. I remember the first time I went ziplining, the first zip line was a little scary. And after that, they were a breeze. Some common fears to developing intuition. I divided them up into 3 categories. You can see this woman's face. She's kind of a little bit scared. The fear of hurting the self, fear of hurting others, and fear of hurting both self and others. And we're going to be looking at these. I'm going to be spending a little bit more time looking at each of these different fears. For fear of hurting the self, the 3 most common fears are, what will people think of them being a psychic? Will their career or reputation suffer? So a lot of people have a lot of energy invested in how they look in the world and what they're doing, what their career is, how much money they make, you know, how do they line up with the Joneses, this kind of a thing. So when a person decides they really want to go forth on their psychic path and have either work as a healer, an intuitive, a psychic, a reader, a channel, you know, any of these different things, because that doesn't fit into our natural sort of society. Like when you fill out your income tax, they don't have a little box that says psychic healer. You know, they just don't have that. It might be a little harder for you, and this fear may come up of, am I going to not be accepted? Am I not going to be understood? Am I going to be ostracized? Are my kids going to be thought, when they go to school, are people going to say, oh, your mom or dad is some kind of weirdo? Woo-woo is the word. So that is one of the fears, and the way to deal with that is knowing that when you listen to the voice on the inside, and it gets much, much louder than the voice on the outside, as John Demartini says, that's the most important thing. So when you feel good about what you're doing, ultimately other people will feel that, and they will sort of just have a sense of comfort and confidence with that. What if the reader attracts a negative energy? This is a really big fear that a lot of people experience. I think it is based on our cultural upbringing with a discomfort about talking about death or talking about spirits or talking about paranormal, metaphysical, extrasensory perception types of activities, that it just seems kind of scary. And so we're going to look more closely at this fear, but basically it's for you to really know and understand deep in your heart, love is the most powerful force in the entire universe. Love. And when we bring love into any situation, into any, if there's a negative energy or entity, into any circumstance like that, it dissipates and it dissolves. So we have to get ourselves into our frequency of love, and that helps to create sort of a shield around us of love and light. How will the reader know if the information is from their ego or from their intuition? Good question. That is such an important question, and that's a question that, again, the more readings you do, the more practice you have, you will absolutely know the difference in how it feels in your body when you're tuning in and you're trusting and you're allowing the information to flow. And oppositely, when you're pushing it, when you're forcing it, when you're trying too hard, when you're confused and you're trying to make it work and you're not understanding, it will be very, very clear what the differences are. So, we're going to look at that in more in depth, but I just wanted to bring these 3 common fears up first. Now, the 3 fears associated with hurting others that people share with me over the years, again, I've been teaching classes since 1989, is what if I tell them the wrong thing? What if the practitioner's relationship with people in their personal lives changes as a result of opening to their intuition? And what if the reader misuses their psychic powers? Okay, so these would all be things that might hurt someone else. If the psychic tells somebody the wrong thing and they make a decision and something bad happens, that would be number 1. Number 2 is, let's say a person is in a relationship, they have a work relationship, and then suddenly they start working, developing their psychic ability, and people get a little uncomfortable. They feel like you're reading their mind. They don't want to share their sandwich with you because they're afraid that you're reading their mind, that kind of thing. And then the third example would be the reader misuses their psychic power. Perhaps they have, perhaps they're using it for psychic attack, which is not a good method of using psychic energy, but perhaps they have some resentment or anger at someone and they're sending out psychic energy in a negative way. So we're going to be looking at these 3 things because these can inhibit your ability to tap in and tune into your intuition. Now the third area, remember I said I broke it up into 3, hurting self, hurting others. Some fears are about hurting both the self and others. So this first one, what if a reader takes on the client's energy or issue? Boy, this is a really, really common concern, especially for people in the healing psychic arts, where they're actually working with healing and sending energy to the body, and then suddenly the healer has the headache or the neck ache or the whatever it is. So then as a result, the client, they don't clear it or heal their own issue, and the reader does not let go of the outcome. So there's an energy lock there. There's a grid, an energy grid. Instead of the healing going in through the psychic and through the healer to the client, and the client receiving it and taking it and moving on, there's some sort of a transference of energy from the client to the reader, which we don't want to happen. You don't ever want to carry your client's energy into the evening or into the next day. You want to do your session, be completely 100% present, all of you, 100% present. But then when that client goes, you let them go. And you let all their energy go with them. You're not going to carry it like in a little knapsack on your back. That's not beneficial for anyone. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is. So let's see. The second one, people client and psychic relation spirit. All right. So if the practitioner charges money for psychic work, does that devalue the spiritual benefits for both the client and the reader? Will the psychic reader's motivation become less pure and thus hurt the client? This is a concern, actually, that many, many people have. It's a common fear, is that if people start charging money for their sessions, are the sessions going to get diluted? Are they going to get less pure and good and helpful? And we're going to look at that, because money is just another energy, right? But a lot of times people put a lot of energy, negative energy, around money and around the transference of money, rather than it just being a means of exchange. What if clients become emotionally dependent on readings and practitioners compromise their integrity by encouraging the client to book too many sessions? Unfortunately, this does happen. I've worked in the healing realm. Well, I've been in the healing realm since 1978, but I've worked as a professional psychic since 1988. And what I can say is I have seen psychics who do develop dependency with their clients. The client feels that they can't make any decision on their own, that they need to get a psychic fix in order to move forth in their life. This is not a good thing, and I wish more psychics would be concerned about this. I think sometimes what happens is the motivation becomes impure, and it comes from more of a greed or taking care of the self rather than actually helping and serving the person. So we're going to look at that in a little more in depth and see what we can do in terms of healing those fears of hurting both self and others. First, let's really tune into this fear of saying the wrong thing. Wrong is such a strong word. It's based on the idea that there's right and there's wrong. Now, my understanding from working with my guides is that they're not in that realm of black and white. This is all right and this is all wrong. They're in a different realm. They're in the realm of unconditional love, and in that realm, things look very, very differently. But on a deeper level, this fear of saying the wrong thing is coming from a sense of separation and disconnection. So this fear stems from the practitioner forgetting, just totally forgetting, that both their client and themselves are being guided. They're actually being guided by their own divine higher selves. Thus, both are connected to a universal oneness of being. So what does this mean? It also means that the reader has forgotten that they are not responsible for the client's reaction to the information. So this is a two-part, the fear of saying the wrong thing. So if the client is connected to the universal higher self and the reader is connected to their universal higher self, and they are all working in harmony and unity and in conjunction with one another, then this fear of saying the wrong thing, it actually is coming from the ego self who wants to do it right, who has an investment in looking good or being right, or there's some kind of an expectation that the ego has about the situation that is getting in the way of having it be a pure and really true transmission. So we're going to look a little bit more at that. The second part is about not taking responsibility for the client. Now, as a psychic, you do have a responsibility. You have a very big responsibility to be the most pure, open, humble, loving, psychic, intuitive that you can be, that you are tuned into the very highest frequency. And we do that by eating well, sleeping well, being positive, meditating, walking on the earth, drinking lots of water, doing our positive affirmations, praying, connecting to our guides, practicing channeling, doing all of these things that you've been taught in all these other 14 classes up till now. Clearing our aura, clearing our chakra cords, doing our emotional healing work. That's our job. But once you've done all that, once you've really, really done that, and you're putting yourself in a place of open receptivity and service, remember I said in an earlier class, if you get nervous, focus on service. Really humble yourself to be the vehicle for the divine. When you do that, you're not responsible for what comes through. You are the messenger. So it's like you get the mail, but you don't write it. You just deliver it. So my spiritual teacher said to me, No praise, no blame. So if somebody has a really incredible session and they're like, oh my gosh, that was just amazing, and they come back 2 years later and they say everything you said came true to the minutest little detail, it was just phenomenal, I don't get to claim that. I can say thank you. Thank you for telling me it. It helps to give, it encourages me on my path of being a psychic to want to serve and help more. But I don't get to go, oh, I'm so good, because I'm just the telephone. I'm the vehicle for the divine. Same thing, if somebody comes back to me 3 years later and they say, oh, you told me not to buy that condo. I bought that condo and it didn't work out, and really wish I had listened. And it's not my fault whether they take it or don't. So I don't get the blame for that session. I don't get the blame. So there's a way that we have to let go and just be the vehicle. And when we do that, we don't say the wrong thing because we're so connected to that infinite source of love. Here's a vase. I like to use the image of a vase, and this is an exceptionally pretty vase. If the guidance has been given to them, your client, from a pure connected space of love, service, and surrender, then the fear of being wrong is eliminated. It's sort of like a preventative thing. So if you don't want to say the wrong thing, prepare yourself first before your session. Do your clearing work, do your centering, get your space nice, get yourself in a good-hearted, unbiased, take whatever time you need to be really present with that being and to connect with your guides. Instead, faith in being a clear conduit of divine truth is maintained. Imagine you are the pure vessel to hold the light and love for your client. So just envision, if you were a vase, what size would you be? How much love could you hold? And just feel yourself filling up with the light of your soul, the light of your higher self, the light of your guides, the light of all these angelic teachers that are here. And you're this beautiful vase, and all you have to do is hold that energy. That's what we do, is we hold the energy between the dimensions. We lift the veil. We clear away anything that's keeping us from feeling that true intuitive knowing that's always there. So again, with saying the wrong thing, it's okay to make mistakes and learn from them. It's okay. So if you say something and all of a sudden you say it and it doesn't feel right, it might mean that you lost a little bit of your connection and you need to go back inside and reconnect and start over, and that's okay. Taking risks is an important part of developing one's psychic ability. There is not one psychic on this planet who's 100%. There's just not. There's not 100% in every single case. So whatever percentage it is, that person has to take a risk. And if you don't take a risk, you're not going to grow, you're not going to learn, you're not going to build your confidence. So you have to be willing to say, I see a school, I see a bus in front of the school, whatever images you're getting, you have to be willing to speak them. In every mistake, there is a potential for growth. And believe me, you will very quickly learn when you say something from your ego as opposed to your divine higher self. There's a much, much different frequency with it. The difference is sort of between okay, when you go to a two-dimensional movie and you go to three-dimensional, it looks like it's all right there. That's the feeling of your guides. Everything is bigger and brighter and fuller. Two-dimensional is more your ego looking at things and wondering how it's going to respond. So you'll feel it. Believe me, you will feel it, but you have to pay attention. So this was in one of the fears for the self, fear of changing relationships. And what if the practitioner's relationship with people in their personal lives change as a result of opening to their intuition? Honestly, I have to tell you that oftentimes when people sign up for a course, an intensive course in psychic development and channeling, their lives do change radically. Because they maybe have not been following their intuition. They may be in jobs that they don't like, relationships they don't like, places where they live where they don't like, houses they don't like. You name it, they may have been there, and they've been sort of coasting. And then they start opening to their intuition, and they get this higher guidance. Oh, gee, I really deserve something better. I deserve to go back to school. I deserve to have a loving relationship. It might mean change. People usually don't like change, but when your higher self is inviting you to come into a bigger realm of being of yourself. It might mean letting go of some, but let's look at this a little more in depth. So, for example, a woman invites clients to her home. She's ready to do psychic readings in her home. She set up some sort of a little office for private sessions, and her husband becomes jealous. Both of the time spent away from him, their energy going into the psychic readings, and some of the clients are men, and he's feeling a little jealous of that as well. Now, he feels their marriage is threatened by her involvement in the psychic realm. Change must happen for them to continue their marriage harmoniously. Something's shifted. There's an energy shift in the marriage, and this often happens when one person starts really, really growing. The other person can either open and keep up, or what happens is they grow apart. Every relationship has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and every relationship has a certain amount of time or purpose that it is meant for. Some is for a reason, some is for a season, and some is for a lifetime. So that's not for us to necessarily know. But because this person is changing and they're getting happier, they're listening to their intuition and they're moving along their path, it will affect the relationships around them. The good news is this: if that person who's meditating and channeling and talking to their angels and guides is getting happier and happier, the other person is going to feel it. And it might just motivate them to get happier and happier as well, so that the marriage doesn't have to end and they can be harmonious. So in this instance, it is important for the psychic reader to stay true to their own intuitive guidance and committed to their path of helping others while releasing their need for any external support and validation. They learn to listen inside more than outside. So if you're one of those people that really wants a lot of love and a lot of approval from your family, from your spouse, from your parents, from your children, from your friends, from your co-worker, it may be more challenging for you to really grow and develop, because you're going to have to go past that fear to doing it anyway. So when your honey says, come to bed, and you say, I want to stay up and meditate, you have to be willing to accept the consequence of, oh, he's not happy with me. If that was always your pattern, that you had the same exact bedtime, and now you're getting guidance that it's in your highest and best interest to stay up and meditate. So it's really about learning to be true to yourself, not to hurt the other person. But on some level, when you're really true to yourself, it does help them to be true to themselves as well. Another example of changing relationships would be a man who's in a dysfunctional marriage. I'm actually thinking of a student many years ago. He was a great student. He really opened up to his psychic abilities. He learned to tap into his intuition, and he did receive clear guidance that it would benefit both him and his abusive, she was emotionally abusive, alcoholic wife, for him to leave the marriage. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. So he's getting happier and happier and healthier and healthier. He's listening, tuning in, and he's in this relationship that feels that it's sort of on a whole different plane of existence. On a soul level, what I have learned is that it may be true that he has outgrown or completed the purpose of this marriage, but on a soul level, it may be that it's actually to the benefit of both of them for him to leave. So let's look at the second part. Consider the idea that on a soul level, these two people may have chosen him developing his intuition as a catalyst for change for them both. On some level, it is mutually beneficial to both of them, even if one person does not feel that way. So we're looking at life from a larger window rather than our own personal, this is how we see life. We're asking to expand our vision. So on a soul level, by him leaving her, she may actually get motivated to make some positive change for her life. Her soul may have wanted him to grow and open in that way to show the contrast of what she's doing in her life of cutting off from her intuition. So we may not always understand, but when we listen inside to the deepest guidance that we're getting and we follow it, good things do happen. Our lives do change and our relationships do improve. Here's a fear of misusing psychic powers. Now this is one that could hurt yourself and other people, because if you misuse psychic powers, it does hurt yourself. You can't hurt another without hurting yourself. So what if the reader misuses their psychic powers? For example, they manipulate an outcome to their own advantage. Let me just give you an example of this. Let's say, for instance, a person comes to a psychic reader and they're having issues of not being able to sleep. And the psychic says, you know, you're really having issues of not being able to sleep because there's all these negative entities around you. And if you come back 5 more times for $100 each time, I will remove all of these entities for you. Okay, that is definitely abuse of psychic powers because they are not encouraging the client to get independent. They are not encouraging any kind of empowerment. And they are developing a dependence on them. So we want to look at what a person's motivation is for doing a reading. They may have had a past lifetime in which they used their psychic powers. For instance, back in Atlantis, many individuals used their psychic powers that they had developed working with crystals and lasers and energy and information in a negative way, and thus the ending of Atlantis in that known form. So there is a way that when we develop our psychic powers that we must use them with love, compassion, and integrity. Most important. We'll be talking about that more in the last 5 classes, but I just wanted to touch in with that now. This is a big one. The practitioner's self-image. We did talk about it a little bit. I just want to get a reminder in there. The psychic reader has professional background. What will people think of them being a psychic? Will their career reputation suffer? Go back to class 2. Go back to class 3. Look at these classes. Do these exercises. Do these meditations. Class 2 was about getting signs from your higher self, getting a sense of your higher self. Class 3 is about integrating, bringing all these parts of the self, seeing, does my physical part of myself want to be a psychic? Does my emotional part want to be psychic? Does my intellectual part, are they on board with me being a psychic? So that you're all fully integrated and you can be the very best psychic you can be. And sometimes there's just fears that you have to look at. Fears, when we look at our fears, instead of trying to act like they're not there, but we actually become friends with our fears. So let's say you have a fear of being, of losing your job, that you may say, well, I work for the police department, I'm a 911 dispatcher, and if I work as a psychic, they're going to think I'm some kind of a weirdo, and they're not going to let me have my job. And that's definitely lower chakra, the first chakra of survival and security. And we want to look at that because fears always come from 2 different aspects. Fear of losing what you have or not getting what you want. And so that fear is, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my security, and you're not getting what you want, which is to be able to do your psychic work as well. So we want to take it deeper to that soul level of you are taken care of, you are okay, it is safe to be a psychic in the world nowadays, you don't have to be ostracized or pushed away or judged or ridiculed. There was a time on Earth when that was the case. We are not in that interdimensional frequency right now. It is safe to be psychic, and you can have support. You can even develop an entire support network around you and not worry about what people think. Honestly, when I moved to Maui, I felt like a little pea in a pod. There are so many amazing healers, psychics, intuitives. I mean, it's a matter of putting yourself in that environment where you feel really comfortable and safe, and being willing to stand up for yourself in an environment perhaps that's not as friendly, and being true to yourself and comfortable with yourself. So here's an example that one of my students is a therapist, and she wanted to incorporate some of her psychic work into her therapy sessions, and she wasn't quite sure how to do that. She's actually a hypnotherapist, and she has learned to listen to her intuition and to use her intuition in her hypnotherapy sessions in a much, much greater way. So each of us can incorporate these tools into our work in various ways and not have to feel worried that we're going to be judged for that. The attracting negative energy fear. This is actually a very highly charged fear, and we're going to spend a little time looking at it. But I want to remind you that you have this course material that you can review. Class 4 is about receiving messages from your divine higher self through the dimensions, past and future, and you may have had a contract from another lifetime that you needed to clear negative energy, or you may have had something that happened in another lifetime where you had an experience with a negative energy and you need to clear that out so that you can be really centered and strong in this lifetime. Page 39 in Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer talks about this. What do you do when there's negative energy and how do you clear it? Class number 6 is chakra balancing and clearing and cord cutting. Remember those big etheric scissors, and you cut the cord, you send the energy back, you ground yourself, fill yourself with light, and become that empowered, strong individual. You don't have to be a wimp. Actually, wimps don't make it in the psychic realm. If you're a wimp, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry. You have to be strong and trust in spirit, and you have to be willing to be a spiritual warrior. To be a really good psychic, you have to be a spiritual warrior, and that's standing up for truth, justice, love, wisdom, and asking for help. It's okay to ask for help. Sometimes people get so independent they don't want to ask the angels for help, or they don't want to ask their guides for help. It's okay. If you feel that there's an energy that you're not comfortable with, call on. You say, you could say, in the name of Lord Jesus Christ, I now command this energy to be gone, to be forever banished from this space. Something like that. You can do that, or you can command from Saint Germain or Archangel Michael or whomever you feel comfortable calling to help you and to bring assistance, so that you're moving from a place of victim, vulnerable, weak, into a place of empowerment, strong, protected, safe. Instead of being the one being done to, you become the one who clears the space, who commands the space, who brings that energy forth. And you can do it. You have all the tools. We've gone through all the tools for all these classes. It's a matter of really being strong and believing. And you can use the banishing prayer, you can use the protection prayer, and you probably have many other prayers I know that you're using already. But it's important to do the work. Here's this question. Is it from the ego or is it from the intuition? What's the biggest difference? Do I feel expanded with it, or do I feel contracted? That's the biggest difference. So we're going to have you review class 4, which is receiving messages from your divine higher self through the dimensions. That's going to give you information in terms of the ego and the intuition. And page 60 in Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. I love this book. It's so packed full of information. It's going to remind you that sometimes, see, what happens is your guides are going to use all the information that you've ever learned over the years. So some of the information you may say, oh, that feels like it's coming from me. That feels familiar. Like I know that I should take vitamin B12 if I'm feeling depressed. But that's information. Why did they happen to choose that one piece of information? Why? Because you're using your intuitive abilities. They're tapping in and tuning into all of your files in all of your consciousness from this lifetime and from past lifetimes, and they're going to retrieve some of that information to share with your clients. So trust, even if it feels like something that you already know, like perhaps you've read a book and all of a sudden you're getting guidance, I should tell them this book, and you're thinking, well, that's from my personal self. Maybe they would benefit from that book as well. So allow that information to flow through you. Let your guides access and utilize every book you've ever read, every article, every seminar, every experience, every relationship you've grown from. Let them use that. And then if you're doing a session and all of a sudden they're asking about a relationship question and you get a picture of a past relationship and you remember what you felt like in that relationship, like let's say you felt like very dominated and that person was very controlling, and all of a sudden you see a picture of that person, it might just mean that they're in that type of a relationship, and that it would be to their benefit for you to say, I'm getting a sense that this person is controlling, because you're seeing this controlling person that you remember. So you see, part of it is ego, because they're using your ego's experience in the world, but it's much bigger than that. They're actually accessing your memory bank and your emotional bank of energy and information to give you specific information that you can use for other people. The key, again, is remembering, tune into how your body feels. If it feels good and open and relaxed and positive, that's intuition. If it feels very contracted and bad and contracted and tight, that's ego. So that's pretty clear. That's pretty easy to know the difference. Okay, all you healers, all you psychics, all you readers out there, this is a big one. There's a fear of taking on your client's energy. We don't want to do that. As I said earlier, when they go home, let them go home. Don't take their issues, don't take their stories, don't take their energy with you. You're not benefiting them by doing that. And as a result, they may not clear or heal their issue if the reader takes on that energy. The reader has to be willing to let go of the outcome. You can want to heal a person. You can want to give a person divine guidance about what they should do in their life. But you know what? They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to accept or reject the healing. They're going to accept or reject the information in the reading, and they're going to do with it what they want. And that shouldn't affect you in terms of, do you feel really, really good if somebody comes in on crutches and you skip out? And if they come in on crutches and they walk out on crutches, are you feeling bad because you didn't do your miracle healing? No, there's a whole higher force in the universe that's taking place and that's happening. And it's really for you to move aside, step aside, and allow that energy to come through. So class number 6 was specifically on cutting cords and clearing energy. Be willing to do this. Be caring and compassionate, but be detached. What do I mean by detached? Detached. Don't even think about changing him or her. That you are there to offer your services, to offer your love, to offer your guidance, but it's really up to them what they're going to do with it. So you don't want to hold the energy up. If somebody comes in and they're in so much pain and they need surgery and you just keep thinking about them, that doesn't assist them on the path. See them happy, see them healthy, see them in the light, and then let it go. Let their own divine higher self take care of them. We each have our own guiding higher self. So in this picture here, we have this individual sitting in lotus with love coming out of their heart and a psychic cord going into the heart of the other being. This may be a very positive connection. It may not be. Only these two individuals will know if that's a positive cord connection or not. But if it's a negative cord connection, simply cutting the cord, giving that person back their energy, and taking your energy back is a way that you take care of yourself, that you don't end up trying to process 3 other people's emotions through your own body because they're not feeling their emotions. So let's say they're really angry. Have you ever met somebody and you meet them and they're all syrupy sweet? Hi! They're just so sweet, but underneath you feel this like, ugh. Something doesn't feel right, like there's an edge, or they feel kind of, there's a gruffness that they're not speaking, but you energetically feel it. Or maybe they're really, really happy on the outside, and there's this sadness deep inside, and you can feel it. Don't take that on. Don't try to change them. Let them be how they are. Now, of course, we want our readings to help people. We want them to uplift people. We want them to feel better. But it's not our responsibility. It's really it's between them and their higher self. So we have this big dollar sign here. And this dollar sign is here because I've talked to many, many people over the years who don't think it's right to charge for psychic readings or spiritual healings or channeling sessions or anything related to spirituality in any way, shape, or form. It's almost like taboo, bad juju. They worry that it will dilute the session. They worry that it will not be as pure, not be as good. So let's just address that fear, because my experience is that it's okay to charge, that our angels and our guides and our higher self know that we live in a world where we have to pay rent or mortgage or have a place to live, put money, gas in our car, and food on our tables, and clothes to wear. That my guides understand that, and they're happy. They don't take it as a personal affront in any way, shape, or form. They see money as an energy exchange. So when I do a session for somebody, they see the energy exchange, that the office I rent, it helps those people. It puts money in their accounts so that they can go buy groceries. That helps the farmer. There's a way that we're interdependent on one another. So I did talk to a person yesterday, and they said, I haven't charged for anything in 3 years. I do everything on a donation basis. So they drive somebody else's car, and they live in somebody else's home, and they eat somebody else's food, and in exchange, they do different acts of service. And that works really well for them. I'm not in a place in my life where I'm ready to do that. You may not be either. So I want you to just think about this. Think about the fact that your divine higher self really wants you to experience on this plane heaven on earth, which is being taken care of. And it's thriving, not just surviving, but actually thriving in your physical being and having the experience of heaven on earth. And with that in mind, they're happy to assist you with bringing clients and with opening you to these other dimensions so that you bring more light on the planet. So it's not really a selfish thing to charge for money. It's actually a beneficial thing. The other thing that I have found about charging money is that when you make that shift from volunteering your work and donating to charging, there's a way that other people value what you do more. It really has to do with how much you value yourself. The more that you value yourself, the more that you'll be able to feel comfortable with charging for your sessions. But people, in terms of what they're buying, they will feel more comfortable having a certain amount. They'll feel like they'll put a certain value on that. So if you're only charging $25 for a 1-hour reading, in this day and age, they're going to say, that's really cheap. I don't know if it's any good. Maybe she's just not very good. But if you charge, say, $200 and they feel like, well, I really have to think about this, what I'm, how committed I am to getting this. Am I willing to put that much aside to do that? John D. Martini says that people put their money and their time and their energy where their values are. So if they are valuing that session with you, that they're willing to put that much money, they're probably really going to listen to the information and guidance that comes. And they're probably really going to make those important changes in their life so that they can be more productive, more happy, and fulfilled. So think about it. That I know that that's a fear, is that it will be a negative thing. I haven't found that to be so. Fear of client dependency. I wish more people would think about this fear of client dependency. What if clients become emotionally dependent on readings and practitioners compromise their integrity by encouraging the client to book too many sessions? We always want to encourage our clients to be empowered. When we encourage dependency, and I've known of a few psychics over the years that develop what I call an enmeshment with their clients, where the clients feel that they can't make any important decisions without consulting their oracle. Just like last week we talked about becoming dependent on the pendulum, clients can become dependent on their psychic. They don't want to buy a house, they don't want to have a relationship, they don't want to, eat a certain food without consulting their psychic. I do not consider this to be a good thing. It may be good for your bank account. It may be good for your cash flow. It may not really be what's best for the client. You want to work with empowering your client to listen to their own intuition. Eventually, it would be wonderful if psychics were put out of business because everyone's listening to their own intuition so closely and so openly. In the meantime, as psychics, I think there's a certain level of integrity that we need to really keep in mind. If you have a client and they called 2 days ago and they're calling for another reading, what did they not get out of that reading? What did they not apply? Did they hear something they didn't want to hear, so now they're trying to hear something else? There's also what I call professional clients. They go out there, they get readings from 10 different psychics, they sort of decide which ones they like, and they keep doing it again, and it's like an addiction. They don't ever really want to move forth in their life. They just want to keep getting more and more information. and then they make this psychic wrong or that psychic wrong. So you want to really tune in. You have the choice of choosing whether you want a client or not. You're not victim to whoever comes. If a client comes and you just did a reading for them 1 month ago and you feel that it's too soon, you can say to them, I'd like you to wait 3 months and really process that information that you got, unless you have completely different questions. So think about that in terms of dependency, and think about it in terms of helping to empower them, to really get them on the track of listening to their own intuition and moving forth in their lives and what feels right. And it'll be different for different clients. Some clients I only see once a year. Other clients I see once every 3 months. You have to really just kind of tune in to that specific individual. But certainly this day-to-day type of client, to me, that's a dependency, and I would use caution energetically for yourself, because you have no psychic space for yourself. And that's really important, that you feel your own psychic space and who you are. So that help me, this little girl with her help me sign. I just want to mention briefly, the client that calls up and they're in crisis, if you can, give them 2 days, 48 hours. You will find that if you can book their appointment 48 hours later, the crisis will have passed. They'll be much more open, available, and ready to hear what you have in that session. And they won't be so frantic that they can't take it in, that they can't actually move forward. So, that saying, this too shall pass. Usually it does. And you don't have to succumb to being available 24/7. You can set certain parameters. We'll be talking about that in the last 5 classes of being a professional psychic. But yeah, that help me thing. Let them learn to help themselves as well. Now we're going to jump from fears into blocks. And you can see the hose with the kink in it. The energy's flowing, the water's on, the lawn is ready to be watered, but with that kink, you all know when you've tried to water a lawn, you have to go back and open the kink, and then the water flows. And that's what we do in ourselves. When there's a blockage and our psychic and intuitive energy is not flowing, we need to clear up the kink, whatever that is. So we're going to be looking at what some of these blockages are. The 3 most common blocks to intuition are the reader feeling that they've lost a connection to their guides. They may have been doing a session and all of a sudden they feel disconnected. Perhaps there was a disruption, some sort of an energy shift in the room. Perhaps the client asked a question that threw them off guard, but they lost their connection. That's one of the first things. The second one is the reader gets symbols and they can't understand what those symbols are. So there's a way that we can look at that and change the way we word the questions about the symbols to get more information. And perhaps the client is asking a question the practitioner has some sort of judgment or bias about, and the reader really needs to get back into a place of unconditional love and openness and what I call neutrality, neutral. When your car is in neutral, it's just there. It's not moving forward. It's not moving back. It's just present and available, and that's where we want to get, neutral, no charge. So losing the connection during a session, there are many ways that you have been taught in the classes, the previous classes, but I want to have you refer back to class 2, connecting with your guides and your higher self, so that this connection becomes of utmost importance to you. It's like developing a friendship, and you want to get so close to your guides that it feels that these friends are always there, always available, always ready to help. There are things that you can do to help make that happen. You can listen to your body cues. How's my breathing? How's my posture? How's my energy flowing? Is it moving up my spine? Do I need to stretch? Do I need to move my body? What are the body cues I'm getting? Do I need to send a grounding cord, a beautiful big grounding cord to the center of the earth so I feel very rooted and grounded in my body? Am I up above my body? Do I need to get back in my body? These are all cues. You can talk to your guides. Guides, I'm going to have this session. Join me. I'm feeling a little far away from you. Give me a sign. Let's talk, chat. Let's, they have chat rooms that you can go to. You can actually go to chat rooms in the consciousness of your being and talk with your guides. You want to recenter, and oftentimes it's with using the breath. So whenever you feel off center, You come back into a place of balance, stability, your foundation. You come back to your place of foundation. And you can do that in all these different ways. I'm going to be looking at a few more in the future as well. But you can get reconnected. Don't be afraid to take the time that you need to get reconnected so you can do the very best reading that you know that you can do, that you're capable of. Don't settle for a so-so reading. Do your best. Always do your best. So what if you get symbols and you don't understand? What if the reader cannot understand the symbols that are coming through? Go back to class 10, working with specific symbols and pictures in conjunction with your guides and higher self. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. It's okay to say to your guides. So let's say you get a road, you see a road, and you want to ask, is it clear and sunny? Is it dark and gloomy? Because roads often represent direction in life. This is from Betty Bethard's Dream Book. Is it clear and sunny? Is it dark and gloomy? Is it wide? Is it narrow? What direction is it going? Is it going east? Is it going west? And if you know the qualities of east and the qualities of north, south, west, like let's say it's going north, and north is the direction of introspection, going deep within. So that might be a quality that this person's moving into in their life. Is it going uphill? Is it an uphill battle? Does it feel like it's moving downhill? There's a lot of motion and flow to it. These are all questions that you can ask in your own consciousness, in your mind, to your guides to get more information. They don't mind when you ask questions. It's sort of like if somebody's describing a vacation and you're not really understanding what it's like, you can say, well, were there monkeys? Was there, was it hot? What was it like? You can do that with getting information and symbols from your guides as well. The key is right down here at the bottom, trust, trust, trust. That's the most important thing for getting intuitive information. All right, moving on, biases. Sometimes we don't even know what our biases are. But suddenly, during a session, we'll become aware that we have a bias. I like to use this example at the bottom. If the psychic doesn't believe in abortion and the client suddenly asks a question about guidance, is it in their highest and best interest to get an abortion? And all of a sudden your stomach gets tight and you feel your energy field pulling back in and you feel your heart shutting down and your mind putting little locks on the box, that's when you need to stop and ask your guides and angels to bring you beyond your own personal biases. We are not here to put our judgments, our beliefs, our biases on our clients. We are here to serve the divine. And that may mean that the answer is different than what you would suggest or what you would want for yourself. But we have to be willing to bring that through. The way that we know is there'll be a feeling when you're doing a reading with someone. I call it that neutral place, but there's also a feeling of deep peace, deep presence, and everything's all right. So even though your client may come in the room weeping, upset, shaking their foot, nervous, or agitated and angry or frustrated, when you do the reading, you're tuning into this place that's beyond all of those personal issues and dramas and chaos to a place of peace. That is the energy that you do the reading from. So they may have the biggest concern, and you don't go there. You don't go into that energy. You stay in that very neutral place, and you get beyond your biases. Oh, and you can refer back to this class number 5, Balancing the Left and Right Brain to Access Higher Frequencies. This is about the intuitive and knowing self, and really letting those two work together, bringing the information in through the right brain, out through the left brain, and not getting blocked by any biases that you may have from childhood that you didn't even know you had, but you do notice when you're doing the reading, when you tighten. Here's some important physical blocks to intuition. Just a reminder, if you are really, really tired, your intuition, it's going to be like a little teeny tiny soft voice that you can't really hear. So if you want to increase the volume of your intuition, quiet your body. So if your body's not saying, oh, I'm so tired. If your body's not saying that and your body's really perky and ready and open, then you can listen to your intuitive knowing better because it's very present. Any kind of drug use cuts off your intuition. you really have to realize that when you're using drugs, even if they're prescription drugs, they can cut off your intuition. So you want to use them with caution if you're on prescription drugs, and certainly no other drugs other than that. Unbalanced chakras, we talked about that in the earlier classes, 6 and 7. You want your chakras balanced, your aura clear, so that the information can come in, so you can feel the other person's aura, you can feel the other person's chakras. If yours are all clogged up, it's really hard to read the other person's energy. Any kind of illness or pain in the body takes extra energy from you to overcome. It doesn't mean that you can't overcome it. You can overcome it. It just takes more of a commitment. It's sort of like if you're going to go up a flight of stairs and you have crutches, you can do it, but you have to put all of your energy into paying attention that you're balanced in each step along the way, whereas normally you might just fly up the stairs. So either way, you can tap in and tune into your intuition. You just have to take into account that you're working with bypassing that illness or pain. Now, I am happy to say that if you have a headache, you're having a hot flash, or you're having a neck ache or something, oftentimes when you go into that deep psychic space, you get to let go and disconnect from the physical illnesses or issues in the body, because you're tapping into that universal place of love, that place of peace. It's a much different frequency and vibration. Taking care of the self, if you are not taking care of yourself, you are blocking your intuition. So taking care of the self is putting yourself in positive places around positive people so that you feel safe. When you feel safe, your intuitive knowing can blossom. It's there all the time. But when you don't feel safe, if you're around angry people, or you're around fighting people, or you're around alcohol energy, or just sort of like dissident energy, you shut down, and you shut down your intuition, and you deserve to have access to all of your intuition. So think about the environment that you're in, that you deserve to be in a wonderful, loving environment, and taking care of yourself. That's drinking lots of water, resting, exercising. I like you to be a really grounded intuitive, not one of those sort of airy-fairy up in the sky. They can't really take care of life because they're not really present in their body. I want you to be a grounded, strong intuitive who's present. And so that means taking care of your body, exercising, sleeping, like I said, drinking good water, and maybe even doing supplements, things of that nature, and listening to your guides and what your guides are telling you about getting your body finely tuned. It's your instrument. Your body is your psychic instrument. Clutter and disorganization in your environment, sorry, but it's true. Clutter cuts off your intuition because it takes your psychic energy to deal with it. So some people will say, well, but I shut my eyes, I don't see the clutter. It's still there energetically. Just because you're shutting your eyes doesn't mean all the energy of all the clutter isn't around you. So it's really about clearing out, paring things down, getting a very pure space, and that will open your psychic ability as well. Here's a reminder of some emotional blocks to intuition. We're going to look at emotional, physical, and spiritual and mental. So some of the emotional blocks to intuition are stress, chaos and drama, fears, depression, anger, and feelings of low self-esteem. We all know what these feel like. We know when we're feeling these things that it feels like our intuition is a football field away. We can't quite grasp it. But when we clear these feelings of low self-esteem, when we clear and heal these feelings of anger, when we go into a place of forgiveness and love and acceptance, when we heal depression and transmute it into life force and energy, when we let go of our fears, and when we release chaos and drama and the need or the payoff that we get from that, sometimes there's some sort of subliminal payoff that we're getting from having these emotions or this chaos in our life. When we release that, we automatically go into our intuitive self. So when we remove the stress, we are already intuitive. So this is really essential for you to decide that these 6 things, stress, chaos, drama, fears, depression, anger, and feelings of low self-esteem, are no longer welcome in your world, except as an indicator, an indication, to give you an indicator that some emotional healing work is needed that you can clear. So they can act in that way, sort of as a red flag. It's time to pay attention. And when you pay attention and clear that energy out, your intuition is really always ready to go. It's like a car in the garage ready to go out for a spin. You just got to open the door to the garage and take it out, okay? It's there. It's always there. Mental blocks to intuition. This is things like rigid beliefs, control issues, judgments, expectations, negative thoughts about self. Particularly, I would say judgments and control issues. These two things keep you from feeling the information that's being downloaded all the time. So intuition's always available, and it's how we're tuning in. And it's almost like judgments and control and rigidity and expectations. What it is, it's sort of like shutting the door to that intuition. But when we open the door, when we remove them and we say, okay, move to the side, let's allow this divine higher knowing to come in. Let's look at this problem from the frequency of solution, which is your higher self is looking at it, instead of from the place of having to be right, which is rigid beliefs is having to be right. Control issues is having it my way. Judgments is, you all know what judgment feels like. Judgment feels like it doesn't feel good. When we're judging something, we have expectations about it being a certain way. And everything other than that is wrong. Again, expectations is the next thing. When we have expectations, we usually have expectations because we're afraid of losing something or we're afraid of not getting something. So we want to look at what our expectations are and release the fear underlying. Negative thoughts about self, that's things like I'm never good enough, I'm never right, I'm blah, blah, blah. All that kind of negative internal dialogue, we have to release that so that the positive information can flow. So we want to start saying things to ourselves like, I'm an amazing intuitive. I am a divine child of God, and I am filled with the love and wisdom of my soul. These types of really, really positive thoughts that shift our frequency and shift our mind. Perhaps the biggest spiritual block to intuition is materialistic, being materialistic, materialism, focusing on the physical instead of on the spiritual. It can manifest in many different ways. It can manifest as a workaholic. It can manifest as somebody who's always putting their energy into buying or consuming. It can manifest as being too busy to meditate. It can manifest as having a lot of shoulds. If you hear the word should in your vocabulary, you're probably being in kind of a materialistic realm rather than in a spiritual realm, because spiritual beings never use the word should. They suggest, they invite, but they don't use the word should. So sometimes old religious beliefs block us from our intuition because it doesn't fit in. Intuition may not be a part of that programmed way of believing. And we may just have unrealistic ideals for ourselves. We may have such high ideals that our intuition, if it doesn't come through as though it's in a mega speaker and really like profound, we devalue it instead of really listening to the subtle cues that we get along the way as well. So these are all spiritual blocks to intuition, and we're going to now look at healing some of these blocks. There are many, many different ways of healing fears and blocks to intuition. I want to remind you to go back to class 8, clarifying messages through listening to your body, mind, and emotions. Dancing and movement, remember when we move the body, we allow energy to flow through, we connect with the divine. Concentration and focus, this is using some of the exercises that I gave you. You can focus on a candle, use a mantra, focus on the breath, really learning to concentrate. Breaking free from routines. What a great way to get beyond fears is you do something different. You try a new approach. And when you do that, it opens you up to new possibilities. Listening to body cues. We have two different classes on listening to body cues, really tuning into your body and how do you read body cues and what do they mean and how can you shift them and how can you change your energy as you work with your body cues. Meditation. This is my all-time favorite, I have to say. The benefits of meditation are so profound. It will shift your inner knowing. It will shift your inner perception. It will change you in a very, very, very positive way. So when you're meditating, what happens is you get beyond the ego's fears and ideas about what it wants or how it should be, and you move into presence, openness, awareness. Affirmations are a great way. I love to listen to affirmation CDs in my car as I'm driving. And I know I'm done with an affirmation CD when I have it totally memorized. Then I know I'm done with it and I can move on to something else. There's singing affirmations, there's written affirmations, there's CDs that you can get. Certainly work with affirmations about any area of life where you're having fears or blocks. And I love to use the saying, up until now I was afraid of frogs, and now I'm ready to really invite frogs into my life in a happy, harmonious way. Feel the difference in that? Up until now. And doing brave things, this is perhaps one of the best things that you can do to rid yourself of fear. When we do brave things, there's an energy shift in our body, and when we shift that energy of contraction, we move into openness, and when we move into openness, the intuition can just flow through. So I invite you to do that. And just concluding about fears and blocks to intuition, go back to class 9, the healthy inner child. Remember, our healthy inner child, that's where our intuitive knowing is. How does your inner child feel? What do you want? What do you need? Have you done your emotional work, your healing work? Healing your wounded inner child. We did the Ho'oponopono prayer. Remember, it was, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. That's beautiful to bring that into your life, and that will shift your energy as well. Developing feelings of safety, security, and self-love. This is your first chakra. Your first chakra must feel safe. In order for you to open up your 7th and 8th chakra really, really high, you have to have your first chakra feeling really grounded and rooted, so that it's like a tree. You can expand out up here because you have a nice expansive base at the bottom. So you always want to forgive yourself and if anything in the past, and you want to be spontaneous and in touch with your intuitive self. So you can just, hold your heart and say, I forgive you for any transgressions, and I now hold you in the highest and most perfect light, and I'm opening to my intuitive self and inviting you in more and more. Refer to class 10. Class 10 was the class on the symbols that will help you, symbols and pictures in conjunction with your guides. And then remember, usually your fears are from the wounded inner child, not from your amazing, confident adult self. So really be gentle with yourself and move forth in life from that intuitive knowing place. Okay, we're going to do a guided meditation. So at this point in our webinar, I want to invite you to sit comfortably wherever you are. I like to put my feet flat on the floor. So get your feet comfortable on the floor. But before you close your eyes, look at this woman sitting here meditating. She has this beautiful divine higher self sitting behind her. So I want you to imagine that you have your higher self that's sitting right behind you, and he or she is wearing the exact same thing that you're wearing, but they're much, much bigger, and they're much more connected to all of the other realms and dimensions. And if you like, you can bring this picture into this mountainous area, and it's a very warm, clear day, and you can sit at the base of the mountain, and you can feel your higher self. And as you feel your higher self, I want to just invite you now to close your eyes. And just feel how good it feels to have your higher self present with you. That your higher self is always present, but how often do we actually really just let her or him sit right behind us, sort of holding that energetic space for us. So now we're going to take 3 breaths, and I want you to allow your higher self to regulate the breath. Your higher self may want you to breathe faster or slower or fuller and deeper or shallower. But just allow your higher self to breathe through you, almost as though the two of you are breathing together in harmony and you're following the rhythm of the breath of your higher self. So starting now, breathing in. Breathing out when you're ready. 3 complete breaths. check your body and see if you need to stretch or adjust your body so you're more comfortable. You may need to yawn, you may need to adjust your spine. Now imagine that your higher self that's sitting behind you is very gently placing their hands on your shoulders, and it feels so good to have the hands there. You might even want to put your own hands there just so you get that feeling of what it feels like. And feel your higher self coming down and into your body so that the two of you are merging. So that now when you breathe in, you're actually breathing in the love and the energy and the light of your higher self in your physical body. Let's do this a couple times. All right. And now from this place of beautiful, loving connection, I'm going to say the prayer of protection just as a reminder that it's available for you. If you go back to this meditation, you can hear it, you can write it down, you can work with it, you can memorize it. Beloved Mother, Father God, Infinite Spirit, we come to you in love. We ask to be filled, surrounded, and protected by the light of the Holy Spirit. We ask to lift beyond earth into areas of absolute truth. We ask that that which is most needed by these souls be brought forth in this time. We ask to be clear channels for God's love, light, truth, healing, and blessing. We stand believing. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, Infinite Spirit. And now allow yourself to just open. There's nothing you need to do right now other than to just be. And as you relax, you feel your crown chakra opening. And as the crown chakra opens, you feel light from your infinite source self, filling your whole being, your whole torso and legs all the way down to your feet. Beautiful love light coming in. And as you relax more and more, you feel your spine getting straighter and straighter, so the energy from your lower chakra can shoot right up your spine, the very top of your auric field, and then shower down in light all around you. Beautiful light. So I want to invite you to have a conversation with this guide, this higher self part of you. So the first thing that I'd like you to ask your guide, your higher self, this infinite being part of yourself, the very first thing that I'd like you to ask them is, how much do you love me? And see what image they give you. And just feel that for a moment. How much do you love me? Then feel what the image is. And really tune into that image, because they gave it to you in a vibrational frequency. So they may have shown you a picture or a symbol, an activity, a place. Just feel that. Your divine higher self loves you that much. Now open your heart even more than it is and let in a higher frequency of love. For there is a place in you that knows that you are worthy, an amazing, worthy, valuable, infinite being of love. So just allow your higher self to help to move you into that frequency. You are one with all the love in the universe, and you are rooted and grounded. You are one with all the love in the universe, and you are rooted and grounded. Now imagine that coming out of your crown chakra, you have a little antenna. And this antenna needs to be turned just exactly the right direction in order to receive the most purest frequency from your divine higher self. And your higher self is there, and your higher self really wants to assist, because your higher self wants for you to get their message and their frequency as clear and as strong as you can. So sit comfortably, and now allow your higher self to get up and to adjust the antenna to receive the vibration of your divine higher self. And now feel the spaciousness around that your higher self is always ever present and wanting to communicate. And now that you are turned in just the right angle, at just the right frequency, you can more readily and easily decipher the messages from your guides and higher self, from your angelic teachers, from your ascended master teachers, from all these other dimensions of light and love that are here to serve. And just bow a little thank you, namaste, to the generations of ancestors that have tuned in to the frequency of their divine higher selves. And give thanks that you are now part of this lineage, that you can bring the teaching of intuitive knowing out into the world, that you can help others, just as the Kurundera, the shaman, the priest, the monk, the great philosopher and teacher, the greatest scientists who have made the deepest spiritual discoveries, that you are a part of this lineage, you are a part of this council of elders, meant to bring forth this infinite guidance and wisdom. And feel yourself really committing to this path of being a light worker. And as you commit to this path of being a light worker, you feel your arms reaching out and holding the hands of other beings of light, whether they're in third dimensional or in this dimension, and really holding their energy in your hands and feeling that connection. And feel the love coming into your hands just by you being willing to show up and connect with your guides and higher self, angels and archangels, that they're just showering you with love. Your hands are picking up this very strong frequency and vibration of love. And just place them on any parts of your body where you need healing. Aligning yourself to be the clearest channel you can possibly be, and the most accurate, pure psychic. And then just let yourself rock just a little bit, rocking in the arms of this beautiful, beautiful guardian angel that is there to serve, to hold space. And then when you're ready, bow namaste. The highest in me acknowledges and bows to the highest in you Your guides, namaste. I am here to work with you. The angelic helpers, namaste. I am here to work with you. The archangels, namaste. We are here to work with you. Ascended master teachers, namaste. We are here to work with you. All of your power animals, namaste. We are here to work with you. Your loved ones on the other side, namaste. We are here to work with you in love and light and blessings. Then feel who you are in this life. And let that part of you know that you are here to work with them, to assist, to help. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring your fingertips back so that they're touching each other in front of your heart. It looks kind of like this. Feeling your connection to universal love, feeling your connection to all these other beings of light. And the feeling that we have is one of connecting all around the earth. Light beings everywhere, connecting and bringing their light until the whole earth is shining and shimmering with light. Keep coming back into your body. Let's start with just feeling our feet on the floor and getting a good sense of being rooted and grounded. You are now one with all the love in the universe, and you are rooted and grounded, and so it is, and we give great, great thanks. We give great thanks for the opportunity to serve the light, to be the light, to share the light, to grow in light, to grow in lightness of being. Aho, and so it is. So I want to thank each and every one of you for this beautiful meditation, for being here. Get your feet rooted and grounded. You might want to pat your body a little bit, all the way down your legs. And after the class is over, you can journal if you received a message, or a sense, or an intuition. And now we're going to go into the suggested reading to expand your knowledge of intuition. I know it's left brain to read, but you know what? The left brain has to be exercised as well, and the left brain really has to be on board for intuitive knowing. So some of these books really help your left brain to feel safe so that you can really open up more with your right brain. We have The Intuitive Way by Penny Pierce. We have Navigating by Intuition. And we have Intuition by Osho. These are three wonderful books that could really help you. We do have the suggested YouTube video. It's Raising Vibrations, Following Intuition and Dreams. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Raising Vibrations, Following Intuition and Dreams. She's written many, many books. And this is an active link that you could click on. Just go to this. You can simply go to this website right here and listen to this for next time. And for your homework, you don't have to firewalk. I was just kidding. Although firewalking is a wonderful, wonderful way to go beyond the limitations of the mind, because the mind can't understand how it works, and the body just trusts. Usually what you do is you meditate first before you would walk on hot coals, and you become one with the universe, one with all the love in the universe. And the interesting thing is you may feel fear, but you go beyond the fear. You don't get stuck in that vibration. And when you're doing psychic work, it's the same thing. Just like it's the first step that gets you across the fire, it's the first word that you're willing to say when you're doing a psychic reading that's actually going to propel you into the session and out and be able to bring that information through in a beautiful gift that you're giving to your client. So I would like you to review the prior classes. I gave you specific suggestions in many of these slides tonight to go back before you move on to the last section, which is becoming more of a professional psychic and bringing your work out into the world, that you do these other classes, you do the meditations, you do the journaling, you do the review of the information, and then you'll be more ready to move on. And I would like you to actually practice 2 activities that do require courage. It doesn't have to be fire walking, but 2 things that actually really make you push beyond your comfort zone. When you do that, you build your muscles, your courageous muscles, and then it's easier to go in the psychic realm because you've gotten stronger in yourself. You're trusting yourself. It's really about trusting yourself and trusting a higher power. And we have that YouTube video that I would like you to watch. So in summary, today we did review the homework. We did answer questions. We did clear away fears and blocks to successfully following your intuitive knowing. And again, you have to practice, 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 practice with as many people as you can. Practice with friends of friends, practice with family. Just keep practicing until you get to the point where you feel that you're ready to take it to the next level, which again, we're going to talk about in the next 5 classes. And congratulations, if you have done all the classes up until this point, you have just completed level 3, the intermediate level, on deepening your connection and developing your unique reading style, and you are ready to go on to level 4, the advanced level, becoming a psychic practitioner. And again, levels 1, 2, and 3 are very helpful to have in place before you do that last level. Next week, our class is going public, doing public psychic readings at fairs, events, parties, and other public venues. And we'll be talking about that and what's involved in that. And there's a little psychic fair. It's great to bring your work out into the public like that and to share and to help. The feeling of reward is so tremendous. And the feedback you get will be phenomenal. All right, so that does conclude our class number 15. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating, for your love, for your support, for your questions, for your presence, and may your life be blessed with your intuitive knowing. May it get stronger and stronger and stronger.